Donald Trump's relationship with the press has always been combative. But a recent exchange with a CNN reporter took that tension to a deeply personal level. What began as a pointed question about the long-requested release of Jeffrey Epstein related files quickly escalated into a verbal clash that underscored Trump's long-running hostility toward CNN, his instinct to deflect uncomfortable topics, and his habit of turning scrutiny back onto the messenger. The moment, captured on camera and rapidly circulated online, became less about Epstein and more about Trump's enduring media strategy: dominate the exchange, belittle the reporter, and shift the focus away from the substance of the question. The question that sparked it all. The reporter's question was direct and unmistakably loaded. She pressed Trump on the status of Epstein-related files and whether he supported greater transparency surrounding the powerful figures connected to the disgraced financier. The Epstein case, years after his death, continues to loom over American politics, law enforcement, and elite institutions, largely because of persistent allegations that crucial information remains hidden from the public. For Trump, the topic is especially volatile. Though he has denied any wrongdoing and distanced himself from Epstein, his past social proximity to Epstein, like that of many wealthy and powerful figures, keeps his name circulating whenever the issue resurfaces. Any suggestion that files might implicate influential people instantly ignites political firestorms. Rather than directly address the substance of the question, Trump reacted in a way that has become familiar to both supporters and critics. "I don't think I've ever seen you smile." Trump's response veered sharply away from Epstein and toward the reporter herself. Fixating on her demeanor, he remarked, "I don't think I've ever seen you smile." A comment that drew immediate attention for its personal nature. He followed it up with criticism of CNN, portraying the network as hostile, biased, and obsessed with attacking him. The comment landed with a thud, not because it was shocking for Trump, but because it highlighted a pattern that has defined his public interactions for nearly a decade. When confronted with a difficult question, Trump often reframes the moment as a personal or institutional attack, casting himself as the victim of unfair media treatment. To his supporters, the jab was classic Trump, unscripted, blunt, and dismissive of what they see as media bad faith. To critics, it was another example of deflection and an attempt to intimidate journalists by shifting attention from accountability to personality. A familiar media playbook, exchange fits neatly into Trump's broader approach to hostile press. From his earliest days on the 2016 campaign trail, Trump has treated confrontations with journalists not as opportunities to clarify policy or facts, but as battles to be won in front of an audience by targeting the reporter's tone and facial expressions. Trump subtly recast the moment. Instead of answering whether Epstein files should be released, the narrative became about CNN's alleged negativity and the supposed attitude of its reporters. This tactic accomplishes several things at once. It rallies his base by reinforcing distrust of mainstream media, derails the original line of questioning, turns the spotlight away from an issue he'd rather not discuss in political communication terms. It's a highly effective redirection, even if it leaves the actual question unanswered. Why the Epstein files still matter. The intensity of the exchange speaks to why Epstein remains such a charged subject. Epstein's crimes, his connections to powerful individuals, and the circumstances surrounding his death have fueled years of speculation, distrust, and conspiracy theories. Calls for transparency persist across the political spectrum, with many Americans believing that full accountability has never been achieved. For politicians, the Epstein question is dangerous, not necessarily because of proven wrongdoing, but because of perception. Even evasiveness can be interpreted as guilt or fear of exposure. That makes deflection, however crude, an attractive option. Trump's refusal to engage substantively with the question keeps him aligned with a broader political reality. Discussing Epstein in detail rarely offers upside, only risk. Gender, power, and the personal jab. Trump's comment about the reporter's smile also reignited criticism that he treats female journalists differently than their male counterparts. Over the years, he has frequently commented on women reporters' appearances, tones, or attitudes, remarks that critics argue would be unlikely in exchanges with men. Supporters dismiss these criticisms as overblown, arguing that Trump insults everyone equally. Still, the optics matter. Commenting on a reporter's facial expression rather than addressing her question reinforces perceptions of dismissiveness and condescension, particularly when the reporter is a woman pressing on accountability issues. The moment also underscored the power imbalance inherent in such exchanges. A former president and current political heavyweight Publicly criticizing a journalist's demeanor can have a chilling effect, even if that isn't the intent. CNN versus Trump. An endless war. Trump's attack on the reporter doubled as another shot in his long-running feud with CNN. He has repeatedly labeled the network fake news, accused it of coordinated attacks against him, and framed it as emblematic of everything wrong with elite media. CNN, for its part, has defended its reporting and its journalists, arguing that tough questions are part of holding power to account. This dynamic, Trump attacking, CNN responding, supporters and critics choosing sides, has become almost ritualistic. What's striking is how little these confrontations have changed over time. The players are the same, the grievances are the same, and the outcomes are largely predictable. Trump's base feels validated, his critics feel alarmed, and the underlying issue in this case. Epstein fades into the background. Public reaction. Applause and alarm. In-line reaction to the exchange was immediate and polarized. Supporters praised Trump for putting CNN in its place, sharing clips of the moment as proof that he refuses to bow to what they see as hostile media narratives. Critics, meanwhile, accused him of dodging accountability and resorting to personal attacks when faced with uncomfortable truths. Many pointed out that regardless of one's feelings about CNN, the Epstein files represent a legitimate public interest issue that deserves clear answers. In the end, the reaction said as much about the political moment as it did about Trump himself. Americans are no longer just divided on issues, but on whether questions themselves are asked in good faith. The bigger picture, this clash wasn't really about whether the reporter smiles, or even solely about Epstein. It was about power, control, and narrative dominance. Trump understands that in the modern media ecosystem, moments matter more than answers. A sharp insult can overshadow a serious question. A viral clip can replace a policy explanation by attacking the reporter. Trump ensured that the headline wasn't "Trump pressed on Epstein files," but rather "Trump snaps at CNN reporter." From a strategic standpoint, that's a win, but it also leaves lingering questions, unresolved questions that, for many Americans, won't simply go away. Final thoughts. The exchange serves as a reminder of how political discourse has evolved. Accountability is often drowned out by confrontation, and substance gives way to spectacle. Trump didn't answer the Epstein question, but he didn't need to. The clash itself became the story. Whether one views his response as justified pushback or calculated deflection depends largely on where one already stands. What's undeniable is that moments like this continue to shape how Americans understand, not just Trump, but the role of the press, the limits of transparency, and the uncomfortable issues powerful figures would rather leave untouched. And once again, Epstein and the unanswered questions surrounding him remains just overshadowed by yet another political firestorm.